Zelensky Bad News Putin stops by the operations center. According to a statement released by the Kremlin on Saturday, Russian President Vladimir Putin paid a visit to the command post of its special military operation and met with other top military brass. According to TASS, Putin met with members of the Special Military Operation Group in Rostov-on-Don, located in the southern region of Russia. According to the Kremlin, Russian President Vladimir Putin received briefings from Valery Gerasimov, the head of the General Staff of the Army and the man in charge of Moscow's operation in Ukraine. The Kremlin did not release any additional information about the meeting, and its timing was unclear. The Russian state news agency RIA released footage showing Putin being greeted by Gerasimov at what appeared to be night, with the two men shaking hands before entering a building. According to TASS, Putin has paid several visits to the Rostov-on-Don command center. In particular, he came here in the middle of March, around the same time he went to Mariupol, to attend a meeting and hear the military's reports. Russian forces fighting in Ukraine are commanded from Rostov-on-Don, a city located only about 100 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Recent successes on both sides have been measured by capturing border villages, with the Ukrainian counteroffensive struggling to break through entrenched Russian lines and Moscow's stretched military resources and dissent in the ranks. According to Roman Starovoyt, governor of Russia's Kursk region, 5 people were injured by flying glass when a Ukrainian drone crashed into the roof of a train station, starting a fire. He said the incident's specifics were being checked out. Domodedovo and Vnukovo airports in Moscow have both halted arrivals and departures as of Sunday morning, according to TASS. The drone attack may or may not have been related to the closure of the capital's airports. Flight Radar 24, a real-time flight tracking service, reports that flights have been redirected to Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport. At the same time that Ukrainian pilots began training on F-16 fighter jets alongside instructors from the United States, a new wave of drone attacks began. The F-16 was located in Ukraine, and Alexander Oleshchuk, commander of the Ukrainian Air Force, said on Ukrainian state TV that 2 of his pilots had been tested by American instructors the day before. Oleshchuk stated, "It was decided that for this class of pilots, they will be able to master the F-16 aircraft in 4 months, even though the total training period was 32 months. Training on the jets has begun, according to Oleksiy Reznikov, the Ukrainian Minister of Defense, who said as much in a separate interview on Saturday. In response to a question about the duration of the training, Reznikov said, "A minimal term of training is 6 months, but he would not elaborate." This week in Wyoming is the start of the annual Jackson Hole Economic Conference. Federal Reserve officials from the United States, European Central Bank officials, and Bank of England and Bank of Japan officials will all be in attendance. On Friday, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell will present an economic outlook outlining his views on inflation and monetary policy. It will be carefully examined by investors who are on edge after a week of market declines due to worries about potential further rate tightening in the United States. According to a report from TD Securities last week, we view the event as a good opportunity for Powell to start laying the ground for the next step in the Fed's policy guidance, no longer focused on how many hikes to expect, but rather on rates remaining higher for longer. Domestically, business has been slow this week. On Thursday, however, construction materials behemoth CRH will announce interim financial results ahead of its planned IPO on the New York Stock Exchange. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa will host a meeting of leaders from the so-called BRICS countries of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They hope to grow the organization into a powerful bloc that can compete with the West's economies. Inviting the additional 40 countries that have expressed interest in joining the bloc is on the agenda. These countries include Egypt, Argentina, and Saudi Arabia. The latter is currently going through a new economic downturn. President Xi Jinping of China plans to attend. Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, won't because he is wanted on a warrant for war crimes committed in Ukraine.